You are the creator. You create your own destiny. Take that power. Own that power. This is your life. Make the choices that are hard. Take the risks. Right. Welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you are, whatever time it is. So, you are ready to experience greater levels of inner freedom, greater levels of spiritual liberation, greater levels of alignment and empowerment and fulfillment. But you feel stuck and you don't know why. And you're watching all this content like you're watching now, but you're just not experiencing the shift. And I'm going to make it really simple, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you're not doing the work. You're not actually doing the work. And let me tell you that once you reach a new level of consciousness, once you become aware of something, you can't become unaware of it. So if you're doing your shadow work and you're becoming aware of your subconscious programs and beliefs that have you stuck in these patterns, in these thought loops, in these toxic relationships, and it feels like hell, it feels like prison, it feels like it's written in stone, it feels like you'll never be free. There's doom, there's fear, there's grief, there's pain, but you want to experience greater levels of freedom and liberation, and you almost are scared that you can't experience that, or that you never will, or that you're broken, or that there's something wrong with you. I'm going to tell you none of that is true at all whatsoever. The reason you're not experiencing it the way that you want to is because you're not actually doing the work like you need to. When we acknowledge that literally whatever's happening on the outside, in our patterns, in our relationships, in the events and the occurrences, is only a reflection of what's within, when we acknowledge that fully, that's to know thyself. That's why life is the ultimate teacher and the greatest tool in the coming into alignment and enlightenment and empowerment, is because we get an insight and a glimpse into our inner world that we may be unaware of through the events that happen outside of us, including through relationships with other people. So when we become aware of the subconscious beliefs about ourselves that we're operating from, and we become more aware and more aware, because when we have these programs and we're operating from them, oftentimes we're not aware that that's what we only believe. Whatever's happening to you is only a belief. So when we become aware is when we can actually go, and get to the root of it, and understand it, understand where it came from, understand why we believe that about ourselves and why we feel that way. And that's a process, because like I said, there's layers upon layers. You could be aware of a program that you're operating from and still not be fully aware of how deeply you're operating from within that program. So the process of becoming aware is to know thyself. And then once you know why you're behaving the way that you are, why you believe the way that you do, why you're stuck in these patterns, why you feel like all is lost, you can begin to unravel to the truth of who you are beyond that programming. The infinite love, the unconditional love, the unbound light, the light that shines undauntedly. The person that loves to love, the person that has a passion to heal and experience unity, the person that inspires others to get the most out of their life and be the best they can be. Whoever it is that you truly are underneath all those programs, you can begin. And here's the shift point. Here's what everyone's missing when they're watching all this content, but they don't understand why they aren't actually experiencing the changes and the shifts, is you actually have to do the work. You have to make the changes. You have to make the sacrifices. And it could be any little thing, down to stopping consuming caffeine on a regular basis, because caffeine can actually cause a greater imbalance in your energy field and prevent the proper energetic alignment in order to just be in a flow state and be more fulfilled and be more in your body and express your soul song the way that you want to. There was a study done once where spiders were given different drugs, marijuana, PCP, psilocybin, I think, and one was caffeine. And when when the spiders spun their webs, the caffeine was absolutely incoherent. It had no coherence whatsoever, whereas the other webs actually did. Especially if you're dealing with anxiety, you're healing trauma patterns, you're becoming more aware of yourself and you have imbalances going on, I highly recommend to stop the consumption of caffeine, no matter how good that coffee is in the morning with a little cream and sugar, no matter how perfect that is on a cold morning. Consider trying hot cacao, maybe with a mushroom tincture, some other kind of alternative that's healthy. That's what I'm saying. It's every little choice that we can make. Will you respond to a hateful comment? Will you choose to flip someone off in traffic, or will you go, you know what? I'm not going to let that bother me at all. Because life is so sweet. Every moment is a precious gift. So we begin to change our thought process. We begin to change how we relate to ourselves. We begin to change how we operate in life and relate to other people. We start operating from the heart center. We let our heart wisdom take over and let our heart rule over the ego, because the ego is the one that goes, how dare you cut me off? Well, what do you who do you think you're talking to? The ego is so impatient. The ego believes it's entitled, whereas the soul and the heart wisdom has a deeper knowing, okay? A deeper peace that all is well, that loves every person unconditionally, no matter who they are, no matter what's going on with them. And of course, because we are in a human body with a brain, that's like walking a tightrope. That's why it's a lifestyle. Enlightenment, empowerment, living a life of alignment takes practice. It's a daily practice. It's a complete lifestyle and paradigm shift. So whatever you're doing, the majority of what you're thinking, the majority of what you're listening to, of what you're consuming, not only food and drink, but reading, watching, like I said, listening to who you're hanging around, the thoughts that you're having, that's what you are becoming. Everything we consume through our senses is ultimately what we're becoming. It's our prayer to life, what we choose to live by. And this is where we understand our power, because we get to choose the things that we believe, the thoughts that we have, the way that we respond to situations. Are we going to let the heart rule, or are we going to let the brain rule? We get to make the micro and macro choices of our own lives. And, it's challenging, it can be experienced, but that's part of the lesson. We can't grow or expand without challenges that actually feel impossible. If you're not on that floor kicking and screaming for a small period of time, you're probably not making the big enough moves. You're probably not making the changes to your life that are going to actually give you the life that your soul desires, that is your birthright, that is your destiny. Let me say that again. If you're not on the floor kicking and screaming for 5 minutes before you stand up and actually make the change, are you making the proper changes? That's what I want you to ask yourself. Because, it can, no matter, you don't have to get on the floor and actually kick and scream, but there's going to be definitely something within you that wants to fight to the death when you're making big changes. And it can be hard, and it can also be filled with grief, because you might lose people. For me personally, when I had my spiritual awakening, I had been an alcoholic for over 10 years. I was over 200 pounds. I was addicted to prescription pills. I was extremely addicted to nicotine. I had a victim mentality like no tomorrow. No matter what had happened to me in my life that made me feel like I was justly a victim and whatever, blah, 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 it didn't matter. I could complain and whine and believe I was a victim for the rest of my life, and I would probably die early from some form of cancer or an illness, because that's the level of dis-ease and imbalance that I was in. I had to actually take the self-account. I had to take responsibility to be self-accountable, that said, no matter what had ever happened to me, it happened. This is what I'm dealing with. I can change my life. I have the power to change the way that I relate to my trauma patterns. To say, no more, this toxic relationship is over. I'm not going to let this control my life anymore. I take back the power of my life. So pretty much like what happened was I had my spiritual awakening when I had like just begun to make the shifts and those interchanges and take control of my life from my addictions and everything that was happening. And I had a Kundalini awakening where all of my energy centers came into alignment, and it was, oh my God, I mean, I won't get into it, but it was absolutely blissful. It was like a full body orgasm for weeks. Beautiful. And then all the imbalances and all that hell and torment came back, and because I had made the choice. I took responsibility. God within me, Kundalini, said, okay, here you go. And then I came back, Kundalini, settled back, I was dropped back down into my chaos, and I was faced with this task of sorting out my trauma, my baggage, my patterns. And so whether you have a Kundalini awakening like that, like my spiritual awakening just only showed me the life that I could have. It didn't do anything for me. It gave me, it awakened within my DNA light code activation to my true essence and who I truly am. But I, in my avatar, in my physical body and my working mind, still had to make the choice to change. I had to choose never to drink alcohol again. I had to choose to sever ties with certain people in order to give myself this gestational period of, realizing what was even going on in me. What is it that I want out of life? Who is it that I truly want to be? What's my purpose? I had to choose to eat healthier. I had to choose to follow my passions. I had to make these massive paradigm shift changes within myself, these paradigm level shifts, to change the trajectory of my life, to change how I relate to myself, to change the way that I believe who I am. And none of that was easy, but it was absolutely worth it, because everything that's given me, let me put it this way, anything I believed I lost, and oh my God, believe you me, all my life I've been dealing with loss and grief on a very deep soul level. And I came to realize, after making these changes to empower myself, remember my divinity, tap into my deep inner divine feminine knowing and being at one with the heart of creation, remembering the unity of all beings, remembering I'm part of the binding fabric of all life from which everything's animated, that is God, that is source. In remembering this divinity, this goddess within me, anything I thought I lost along the way was completely replaced with the ultimate gift of life, which is love. And that includes the people that I thought that I lost. I no longer feel like I lost those people. They're within me. They're a part of me. And you become soul purpose aligned. So when you choose to dedicate your life to a higher purpose, to something greater than you on this, because that's what happens when we come into alignment, when we're seeking for a deeper meaning and a higher purpose in life, we find it. And then when we start to live it, we become full. All those gaps of separation within ourselves become narrowed, the missing places within ourselves become filled with love and deeper understanding. And because every person's journey is unique and everyone's trauma is different and everything's kind of interconnected with past lives and other people's stories, everything has a divine unfolding. So when you see 1111 on the microwave or wherever, it means to keep going, that you're on the right path. You're on your soul's path. My recommendation is to listen to your own energy, your own intuition whenever you see a synchronicity, whenever you see 1111 or 555 or 222, whatever number that you see, whatever synchronicity you see, ask yourself, what's the message to me right now? Because chances are, you know deep down, even if it's something that your mind fears facing, when you see that synchronicity, it's a message, you know. And sometimes you might not have a specific message, but just to know that you're guided and that it's a green light from the universe. Make that change, make that breakthrough, conquer that fear, do what you have been knowing deep down within you that you need to do. Make that move. The change can only occur when we make the move. So this is the video that's telling you now is the time to actually make those changes. Anything that you can make a change within your life toward living a healthier, more aligned lifestyle is going to be what creates your future. You are the creator. You create your own destiny. Take that power. Own that power. This is your life. Make the choices that are hard. Take the risks. Conquer the fear.